Hi there, this is video 1, which is a basic introduction into Lightroom, and this particular section deals with how to import camera raw photo files into Lightroom and put them in a place where you know you can find them again, basically cataloguing them again. Before I actually start on that, just a quick introduction to the desktop. It should be fairly familiar to everybody that's using Macs. One thing just to up the top here, a shortcut onto my hard drive, which is a 2 terabyte hard drive. This is my main backup and storage drive, which is a 8 terabyte storage drive, and these is a separate one, but it's actually interlinked as a backup into there, and it's actually split. So actually I keep stuff for web in here, and the share one is all my photos, videos, etc. That I'm moving around quite a lot. So the first thing we need to do is to insert your camera storage card, which is either an SD card. I actually use a XQD card, and if I pop that into my card reader, that should come up. I don't want to automatically import, so I'm getting rid of that, and I'll just move it down here. This is the card that's opened up. What I tend to do is to create a temporary folder on my desktop. I'm actually, I just want to retitle that, and I'm going to call this test 2 because I actually have done a test 1, and make that May 20, so that I can identify it when I actually use that folder. Back on the on your card, I've just opened up to actually see the files themselves. I can highlight those and literally just drag them straight into that folder, and they'll just copy off. In essence, I've actually finished with the card. I could actually delete those off the card now if I wanted to, but I won't. I'll save those, and now we're done with that, we can just eject that that card. Before we open Lightroom, I tend to store these, and as I said, this is my hard drive where I store. And if we go down, you'll see photos. These are the Nikon ones. I take that, and if I just grab that, and I just want to pop it in there, and that will copy over. There we go. And if I just check that it's gone in there, go down to the T's, test 2, there it is. So I can close that. In essence, I've done with that. I will be deleting it. In fact, let's delete it now, just in case there's any mix-ups. Remembering I've still got the original copies on the camera drive as well at the moment. So I'll empty that, and that's gone. So down at the bottom on the, again, normal control bar down through here, you can see my Adobe Lightroom Classic 2000 version, and I'll open that. It will always open back to the last position that you were in, so I can't remember where that was, so something's going to open up. There we go, and it's gone on to that particular photograph that I was playing around with, which is one from the USA from last year. I'm going to put it into a library first because it was left in develop, and you'll actually see down on this left hand side all these different catalogues that are in there. I can close them down so it's not so mind-blowing all in one go. They're basically little storage boxes, and inside the storage boxes you've got albums, and inside the albums you've got the photographs. We need to actually import those camera raw files and then decide where we actually want to put them in here. So again, just remember you're in library, and the first step to do is if you go up to File and you go to Import Photos and Videos and just click that. Okay. Now it'll ask in the source as to which ones you actually want. So it's actually, again, it's automatically gone to my Nikon, my Lacy share in the photos for Nikon, and all of the albums that are in, all the files that are in there. It was just because that was the last place I used, and it's the most common one I used. And there it is. There's that little folder that says Test 2 May 20. So we click open that, and you can see a whole series of photographs that I've just uploaded in there. All we do is just highlight them and then shift. Again, if you didn't want to upload all of them, then maybe you had some dumb shots that weren't even worth uploading, you would just unclick them and not highlight them, and they wouldn't actually upload. But we'll upload the whole lot. So click the first one, shift key, click the last one, and down on the far right you will see import, and it's now going to drag those over from that hard drive, and it's going to start bringing them in. You'll actually see up in the progress bar in there as it's actually pulling those photographs in. They're in kind of limbo land at the moment. We have to assign them to where we actually want to put them, but they're being basically processed. They're still in their full raw state, and they will remain that way. And even once we do a final edit and export them, we export them out as JPEGs or whatever, but you've always got your raw file in the back of it. So it's just going through this processing operation at the moment, which doesn't take too long, and then we can assign them to a folder, a catalogue. And just a few minutes more. It'll always also go through a third process, which is called making them into smart photographs, which is actually done, and that allows it to be adapted, and they will always know what they are. So basically that's copied those in, and again I'm still highlighted on there. I'll shift key, highlight the whole lot, and then if you go up to library at the top there, it says new collection. Click new collection, and we're going to actually put these inside the M. Rossi photos. So if I was to actually, I can't do that at the moment, but what we're actually going to do is find the M. Rossi set, which is that box set there, and the collection we're going to actually call it is Test 2, and again we can just say it's May 20, and then create. Now it's automatically opened that setup, and you'll see the Test 2 May 20, and there was a previous Test 1 that we did on a first video that I did, but the sound wasn't very good, so that's why I'm doing Test 2 now. So now those photographs will always be found in there. You can bring them and put them, other copies into other sets. So that's the first bit of cataloguing. If I was to click this open, this is literally as it's come out of the camera, so we haven't done a thing with it. This was kind of like a shutter burst, so the exposure is probably going all over the place, but we can deal with that. I double click to actually see that individual photograph. If I come down at the bottom and just bring my cursor down, you can see basically the film strip of the whole shoot. If I go to the 4 squares there, that brings me back to the thumbnail. There is one editing effect I always do on every photograph before I actually go anywhere any further forward. Basically some fundamental things. What I'm actually going to do is highlight the first photograph. It's going to give you on the right hand side, again remember we're still in the library, so as a library we're just looking at something, we're not necessarily affecting it. It's giving you the histogram, it's giving you what it was shot in, so it was 1000 ISO, shot at 70mm f8 at 125 seconds. So again, I've always got that information. You can also pre-fill in any metadata in here with copyright, etc. And once you've done it once, you can set defaults, and every photograph will have that. Obviously, it's going to know the date and the time, etc., and the size, because it's actually been pulled through from the raw file off of your camera. So that's kind of stuff. There's lots of other things you can actually do to actually give it keywords, etc. So it makes it easier to find photographs within your whole library. But I said I've highlighted the first one, and I'm going to hit develop up the top, and it will open that up. What I like to do, there's lots of tools on the right hand side, but a good practice, the first thing to do is come down to your lens correction. Now again, it knows what camera you use and it knows what lens you had on your camera. If you enable these, if I turn that off again, you'll see that it kind of reshapes the photograph slightly, and it just takes any of the optical distortion out of the lens, and just gives it a slightly nicer look. Removing the chromatic, that's when you can end up getting haloing around, and it will actually remove that. And again, that's an optical effect, not necessarily a digital effect. Again, depending what lens you have, it's going to adjust it differently. And again, if you're on a zoom lens, depending what focal length of zoom you got on it, will make a different adjustment. So I'm going to go back to the thumbnails, and because I want that adjustment to be on all of these, all I have to do is hold my shift key down. That one's already highlighted. Hold my shift key down, and you go down to sync settings down at the lower right hand side. Now I'm just going to turn that back on because I turned that off last time. It's basically, although we've only done one little thing, I've just left everything on here, but you can see you can control any particular part that you want, just to run across all of your photographs. You sync them, and now you'll see this little symbol here. That means there has been an adjustment made to all of those photographs through there. So as we go on to this photograph here. Again, we haven't decided what we're going to use, and I will put it into develop. One thing we may look at is if I just scroll up to the top, because that's our first part. White balance is something that you can obviously play with, and these are all as shot, so I'm actually not going to do anything with white balance at the moment on here, because we would do that in any further editing. Exposure though, because again this was a camera burst, the camera was taking its exposure and it was kind of moving around a bit, but for the sake of this shot I might just want to take like a quarter of a stop. It's almost like nearly half a stop out of it for the moment. Again, I can readjust that. I'm just doing this so that it looks a little bit more pleasing. I'm not going to adjust anything else at the moment. I just want you to see that first part of it. Again, during this camera burst, this one went completely the other way. So we actually probably need to increase the exposure by, I'll do it again by half a stop. You know, these cameras are so sensitive, you know, half a stop either way makes quite a big difference. It's almost a stop actually, I think. I'll put it at 1 stop. Again, I can readjust this later on. Yeah, 1 stop's better. It's almost like it's gone through bracketing. So, and I do have a bracketing setting on the camera, and it may have, through the camera burst, used the bracketing on it. And I'm just clicking the next one. See, that's actually right. It's actually found somewhere in my bracketing, it's all in there, but that wasn't what I wanted to do. So this one here, this is going totally got wrong here, so we need to reduce it. And it's probably 1 stop because my bracketing's a stop, so that's probably about right. 1 stop there. Going to this one, that's the correct exposure, and then the other one was 1 stop the other way. I should have turned bracketing off when I actually was taking, before I took the photographs. And that one's gone the other way, so just change our exposure on that. We'll give it 1 stop so we know that we've adjusted everything to stop on there. And this one is completely gone out, so I might decide not to use these photographs at all actually. So again, that's more like, it's more like 2 stops. I think that change the light and a change of bracketing on there. And finally, that one's good, got the right exposure on that, right exposure on that one, and pretty good exposure on that. So going back to my thumbnails, and that's where I'm going to stop this particular video. We'll go on to a second video where we'll take an image. I may not use these, I may use the one, I think I'll probably use our images from the first test, which were these ones. And we made some light exposure adjustments on that, and I actually starred the one that we wanted to play with. So if I actually open it up, we wanted to play with that, and I just gave it an indication of the one. It could go to 5 stars, it could go to 1, 2 or 3, but I'm just putting it on 1 as identification. My 5-star ones I tend to use, and I can assign them to what I call my best sets, and they show up in here, and everything with 5 stars will get pulled into there. So if I actually go into the thumbnails, you'll actually see that most of these have got 5 stars on there. I hope put some others in, but they're 5 stars, and you can just select those in one go. It doesn't take them away from their original position, but it enables you to do this smart set. So again, let's just go back to where we were. So that's what we're going to be playing with next. That's what we've just whoops, I've just lost those. This is a little bug that I've got on my Lightroom. It didn't actually put them, it didn't leave them in that folder, but if that happens and you've just uploaded something and you put it in there and you've gone back to it, it's not in that folder, all you've got to do is check in the recently modified section, and there they are. In fact, that was the last modification. So all I'm going to do is select that one, shift, take those, and if you grab the center of the photograph, I can actually take that little set and move it down and put it back into where it should be. I said that shouldn't happen. I don't know why it's happening on my Lightroom. I think it might be just a recent bug that has developed, that on a new update they will pull that out. However, that was actually quite a good demonstration of how you can actually move the images around and reselect them back into different folders. You can pull them around. So we will say goodbye for the moment, and I will see you on video 2 shortly.